They did storm the court tonight down at the Wells Fargo Center because the Temple Owls pulled one of the bigger upsets in college basketball so far this year, beat the 10th ranked, only one loss. Yeah, they got crushed by Kentucky, but came in with just one loss. Perennial power, the Jayhawks of Kansas. Temple schooled them tonight. And the guy who called the game for Temple's school radio station, WHIP, Zach Gelb, was courtside, got a chance to see it, watched everybody run on the floor. He's going to give us some details. Zach, Jody Mac here. How are you, bud?
I'm doing good.
Appreciate you coming on board. We'll get to the celebration after. Start of the game. Now, you've been watching games for a while. I've been watching them for longer than you. Teams with a possibility of an upset get off to good starts. You say, wow, this is good. They got a chance. It could hang in there. But in the back of your mind, you're saying, yeah, but at some point, this other team's going to make a run, and then it's going to be decided. I don't know if we can hold this. I didn't see the game, but I checked the play-by-play. Temple came out early, grabbed the lead, and just kept extending it the entire time. At what point did you say to yourself while calling the game, damn, I think this is going to happen?
I think it would come in the second half because right before the end of the first half, actually right at the buzzer, Kansas hit a three, and that cut them within 10. And then Kansas, to start off the half, went on a little bit of a run, but then Temple just maintained that storm. So I would say a little bit with probably like 9 minutes left in the second half. And this Temple team was aggressive tonight, and I really do believe the games earlier on in the year, the loss up against Nova and the loss up against Duke, helped them to get this victory tonight going up against a top 10 team in Kansas. But the transfers are the big stories for Temple. Jalen Bond was sensational tonight, had 8 points and 10 rebounds, and took Perry Ellis out of the game. And then the two guys they got in Devin Coleman in addition to Jesse Morgan. Listen to this. In the first 10 games, Temple was shooting 36%. In the last two games when those guys were eligible, 42.3%, 16 threes in the game up against Delaware. And then tonight, 58.3% from the field and 7 threes. Both games, Temple won against Delaware by 20 points. Tonight, 25.
That is a tremendous differential, and specifically Temple is compared to Temple previous in the season. Temple compared to Kansas tonight. You mentioned Jayhawks shoot 58% from the field. They held Kansas to 32%. This is a squad that's a perennial top four, Final Four team, always ranked somewhere in the top 10, came in at number 10 tonight. How did they do it on the defensive end? Did Kansas just have a bad shooting night, or was it a spirited defensive effort by the Owls?
When I was taking a look at this game, Temple has a really strong backcourt. They have 5 guards that are really capable of playing. So the guard matchups I was confident with, but down low, that's where Temple has been abused a lot. And Jalen Bond, who's been a transfer player from Texas, is a local kid, went to PW where he played his high school ball, really stepped up in the front court presence. And I think that was the difference in this game. Perry Ellis is one of the best big men in the country, and they held him to 1 of 10 tonight with 5 total points. But it was interesting. After the game, Bill Self just put it down to explaining the loss that he thought Temple's guards were just quicker. So they communicate. They talk a lot on defense, something they didn't do last year when they averaged almost 80 points per game. And it just comes down to depth and defense. They have it this year, and that's why they were able to going out there and make it their 8th straight year of beating a top 25 team. And this is 6 out of 7 in the last 7 years they beat a top 10 team. So Brandon Dumpty, when he has a lot of depth, and he could teach the defense, and those guys are talking right now.
They had to wait a little bit for the depth to get caught up and or eligible, but they've got it now, and they get the big win over Kansas tonight. Again, I saw the highlights, and at least those that were selected, you talked about the big men, and the big men coming into the game looked like it was an advantage to Kansas, certainly when Kansas had the ball on the offensive end, but also on the defensive end. They just had more size. The Temple guards seemed to go to the rim with reckless abandon tonight. It wasn't all just jump shots. It wasn't all just ball movement. They broke down the Kansas guards off the dribble, and then the Kansas big men were not there, and they got all the way to the rim. You mentioned you like the Temple guard play. Yeah, I love guards that can get to the rim against bigger guys.
No question. It all starts with the senior leader, Will Cummings. He's aggressive, like you were saying. He drives. He's a very fearless player, and he gets to the free throw line. I believe he was perfect from the line tonight, shooting 7-7, and that's his game. Quinton DeCozy, last year he wasn't really consistent. This year he put a consistent effort up. And one of the more improved players on this Temple team, Fran Dumpty called him the most improved player, was Josh Brown. Obviously, he played at St. Anthony's his high school ball, and he was more a defensive player last year. He's helped them out on the offensive end, but the two big stories right now with this Temple team has been the play of Jesse Morgan, who comes in, only get to play for one semester, and then he's done here at Temple University, and then Devin Coleman is a nice little hot streak off the bench, and he's able to knock down the three ball. So the shooting percentage for this team now makes Temple a little bit more dangerous than they were a few weeks ago.
Yeah, they only made 7 threes tonight, same as Kansas. They shot 7 of 20. Kansas shot 7 of 19. So basically the same thing. So it was ability to get to the rim and either finish or draw fouls and then make your foul shots that led them to this victory. They got Delaware State, and then conference play starts. Sitting at 8-4 after this win. This is a huge win, Zach. You get this one under your belt, and come decision-making time when they go off to Kansas City and decide whether Temple is or isn't a field of 64 team, a win over Kansas is going to do them plenty in that selection process. What's the CAA look like? What kind of conference is it going to be? Is it going to be good enough that if Temple plays above 500 basketball, let's say, wins at least one game in the tournament, does this look like a tournament team to you? Could it be lifted to it by their conference?
American Athletic Conference is very underrated. You can see the success they had last year. And going into the year, I said Temple was probably going to be on the bubble and get an invite to the NIT. Now with this extra effort from the shooting percentage, it's going to be a fight down to the wire. And these next few games, you mentioned that Delaware State game, those are big games for them. And then, they really get into that heart of the conference play after the Connecticut game, really just because right now they could focus on all basketball. They don't have any schoolwork, and that's a big reason why these guys could come in right now. The transfers, all they have to focus on is basketball. They don't have to worry about school right now. So that's why I think they're fitting in real nicely. I would say that this team is going to be on the bubble all year long, and this game tonight is a big resume builder, like you said.
You meant we talked about where they got to, what they accomplished tonight, coming in 7-4. We're handled by Villanova, but hey, everybody in the Big Five has been handled by Villanova so far. How much of playing a game against a team who's of that quality, like Kansas, top 10 type team, having already faced Nova, helped them get the W tonight?
I think it was a big part, and we talked about that before the game. They also played Duke earlier on in the year at Brooklyn, where they lost back-to-back games, Duke and then UNLV. And those games they struggled, but just once again, they didn't have Jesse Morgan or Devin Coleman in that game, and if they did, I think it would have been a little bit of a different game. I'm not saying they would have won. Villanova is clearly the best team in the city right now, but it did help. And this team, Fran Dunphy, he said earlier on in the year, John Chaney pretty much still makes their schedule with the model that he had back in the day to face the big tough teams and then the Big Five teams as well. So they always play some tough teams, and there's a reason Dunphy's formula, he gets the job done, and they've been beating top 25 teams for 8 straight years under his reign.
And you always want to schedule tough teams because if you win, it looks good. You got to win at least one. Just scheduling tough teams not enough. You got to find a way to win one of those games against a ranked team, and they did so tonight against the Jayhawks. All right, the final buzzer goes off, and the court is stormed down at the Wells Fargo Center. What was that like?
The security people were saying with 2 minutes left, because Temple was up 30 at one point before they won by 25, they're not storming the court. Well, the fans had no part in that, listening to what they were saying. They started storming up. The I Believe chants were going off, and we were sitting right by the student section at the media row, and Mo Cheeks was actually in the building along with 25 other scouts, a record for scouts in a Temple basketball game, and all the fans, as they were running onto the court, were high-fiving Mo Cheeks, and it was absolutely an exciting scene at the Wells Fargo Center, and it was a fun one. The fans did a great job, and the players loved it. They said it was an incredible sight after the game.
Now, if you know the answer, tell me. If not, I need you to speculate for me. You mentioned all the scouts that were in the house. Yeah, chances are most of them were there to watch guys from Kansas play. I'm sure that Coach Duffy knows exactly who's going to be there and who's in the house for his game, specifically when you're playing in an NBA venue like the Wells Fargo Center. You think he drops that knowledge on his team ahead of time? Hey, they're NBA scouts here tonight. They're coming to see the other team. They're not coming to see you. They're coming to see the other squad. It doesn't mean anything once the ball goes up. Whoever's watching's watching. We win this game. Yeah, maybe those scouts start to pay a little attention to some of you guys as well. Would Franny use that as a motivational tool?
I don't know if he said it, but I will just say this. When I walked into the facility to do an interview with Devin Coleman and Jesse Morgan a few days ago, the PR people at Temple did say, "Oh, Zach, by the way, there's going to be 26 scouts there." So I would definitely say there were some rumblings there. But the Temple guard will come in after the game said, "We know how big of a game this was, and we were all ready to go." And then Fran Dumphy said, "If you do X, Y, and Z, you'll win this game tonight." So they bought in to Fran Dumphy, and last year he only had 9 wins, didn't have that much depth. But this year he gets Obi Anechionia, who's a top 150 player, and then next year they bring in 3 4-star guys. So the future is very bright for Temple basketball, and Fran Dumphy has done a sensational job with this club, and I don't think he gets enough credit, especially taking over for a legend in John Shane.
XYZ and an exclamation point at the end. Big win over Kansas tonight. Zach, a pleasure, buddy. Thanks for giving us some of the details.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. And I bet you some of those scouts were definitely some Sixer scouts because they have 9,000 picks in the draft.
Yeah, we can see some Temple guys go in round number 2. We know the Sixers have more second-round picks than they know what to do with. Good to know the Sixers scouts were in the house, too. Zach, thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
That's Zach Gelb. He calls both football and basketball on Temple's collegiate radio station, WHIP. He's got a future in this business, as a matter of fact, giving us a good breakdown of tonight's win